I was born in the 2000.
Nope, that's the intro for the first video. If you haven't watched it, go do that. If you already have, no worries then. Take a seat because we're gonna watch my top 100 games of the PS1. Part 2. Number 50. Wow. Dino Crisis. Another one of those games I couldn't play as a kid because at the time it was too scary. It makes a lot of sense that it's created by Capcom because it just feels like a Resident Evil game. But we're switching to zombies for dinosaurs. Now that I got a thing in mind, I can appreciate these games much more because they offer you not only action and horror, but also soul puzzling scenarios that will have you stuck if you don't pay enough attention, making the game frustrating at times, but way more rewarding in the long run. Dino Crisis is a franchise that everyone wants to remaster for a good reason. So Dino Crisis is getting a 7.6 for rating, 7.4 for replayability. Final rating, 7.5. Number 49. Clock Tower, The Struggle Within. Third game of this saga, even though it says a 2 on the cover. Released 2 years after the first PS1 release, here we are yet again, point and clicking. This Clock Tower doesn't have the Scissor Man as the main antagonist, nor it has anything to do with previous versions, but it does have a strange doll that stalks you and wants to kill you. How's it hanging? And on top of that, our main character has a dual personality disorder, just like the name of the title hints. The Struggle Within. The game mechanics are not the easiest to deal with, but what can I say? I overlook it because I'm deeply focused on unraveling the secrets and mysteries of this title. I also want to know who decided it was a great idea to make blood yellow. Clock Tower 2 gets an 8.2 for replayability, 6.8 in rating. Final rating 7.5. Number 48. Digimon Rumble Arena. For some reason I thought this was a PS2 title, but I'm glad it wasn't because I got to enjoy it one more time. Completely unrelated to other Digimon games, this is just a fighter, and probably one of my favorite fighters. All of the maps present a different condition that you have to be aware of, as well as some power-ups. And let's not forget, it's such a fun title where there is not much else to do but fight. As a kid, I remember unlocking all of the characters available. Rumble Arena gets an 8 for rating, 7 for replayability. Overall and final rating 7.5. Number 47. Pepsi Man. We all know what Pepsi Man is. What I didn't know at the time was this was a media campaign. Very well made if you ask me. Gameplay is simple, you just move forward as you avoid obstacles or people, anything in your way, so you can get towards the end. The game does start getting challenging after a while, but very entertaining nonetheless. I do remember not having a memory card while playing this game, so always I had to go back to stage 1. Pepsi Man was a marketing stunt turned into a timeless classic, and I really want to know what's in the end of the game. Replayability 7.75, rating 7.25, for a final rating of 7.5. Number 46. Bloody Roar 2. Second part of 4 people beating each other to death.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I believe they're called zoanthropes, but I don't know, I wasn't paying attention to the story. The game has an improved combat, visuals, it's just a gem overall. Even playing it today, I felt like I was having such a good time. I still believe that in the 5th generation of consoles, this is the only game that come remotely close to Tekken when it comes to fighting games. Going back to Bloody Roar 2 just made me relive my childhood for a couple hours. Now, moving forward, I want to investigate why and where everything started going wrong for this franchise. Bloody Roar 2 is so fun, there's no denying it. So, rating is an 8.5, 6.5 for replayability, final rating being 7.5. Number 45. Mega Man 8. Any game that was gifted to me as a kid, for some reason I hold so much appreciation for it, and this is what happens to me with Mega Man. Mega Man is a fun platformer where you shoot instead of jumping on top of your enemies. The blend of level design and sound effects really enhances the already impressive visuals, making them even more captivating. I never played Cuphead, but it definitely has some similarities with some Mega Man scenarios. Definitely one of the best games in my kid memory. But today, Mega Man gets an 8.4, 6.6 for replayability, overall rating 7.5. Number 44. Tekken 2. Holy, that's an ugly cover. I didn't remember that. Namco brings Tekken back for a sequel, a year later with an expanded universe and mechanics. We already count with a bigger cast and updated sprites. of course I'm gonna choose Slug. Once again, the gameplay already feels more fluid, they added new moves to every character, and you can see the combos that you can do in the start menu. It's like they grabbed the already successful first formula and added some sauce. That was a nasty one shot. It's also here for the first time in this series that you can hit an opponent that's on the air. Thankfully, this time I did get to finish the last stage. Kazuya is not a cheat like his bald dad. Long live Forest Law. Tekken gets an 8 for rating, 7 replayability, final rating once again 7.5.
Number 43, South Park Rally.
This is one of those games you will not expect to be good, but you cannot tell me that Cartman doesn't look cool in the cover. This is the last game made for the show before The Stick of Truth, and apparently has some of the worst reviews ever. Somehow I am surprised by this, but I didn't care back then, of course. I don't think of it as a typical racer game, because it does have several different game modes that are very entertaining if you ask me. I don't know, call me weird, but I like that way more than driving from A to B for an straight hour. It has a lot of maps, unlockable characters. I just want to finish it once again. But today, South Park Rally is getting a 7.8 in rating, 7.2 in replayability, final rating 7.5.
Number 42, Suikoden 2.
Another one of those RPGs that I like so much, once again heavily story based. This type of art style is just candy to my eye. Now, not only the story is very interesting, but the exploring around it also is. And the most important part, obviously the combat. Very fast paced and good looking, so you don't easily get bored after grinding it for a bit. A lot of RPGs of these styles tend to feel empty, but that's not a problem for Suikoden. I never got to play Suikoden in my lifetime, so that's something I'm looking forward to. I'm giving Suikoden a 7.6 for rating, 7.4 replayability, and finally, once again, 7.5 final rating. This is the last one, I swear.
Number 41, the second Dino Crisis.
Dino Crisis 2 spawns not so far away from the first one, and I have two reasons why. First off, they stepped away from the survival horror genre, and they took more of an action approach. Definitely a good decision. And also you start getting points per every kill you make, making the game feel more like an arcade. These points can be used as a coin, making all the materials way more accessible. Like I said, no longer a survival. Regardless of all that, the game is still very fun, and puts you through scenarios of a lot of tension. I expected more from this sequel of Dino Crisis, but the only improvement that we got was the mechanical aspect, not much else. DC2 gets an 8 for rating, 7.4 replayability, for a final rating of 7.7.
Number 40, Siphon Filter. Third-person shooter, espionage-based game, very Metal Gear-esque.
The mechanics of this title were way ahead of its time. Not only in gameplay, but with a very well-designed menu and inventory system. But it's the gameplay and the plot behind Siphon Filter that really makes this title stand out. This story is a lot of conspiracy, terrorism, bioweapon spread, at least that's what I got. Feels kinda dense to be honest, but one day I'll sit and go through it. Siphon Filter was just a game where you felt as 007 and you shot everyone for no reason. Siphon Filter is great, but that's all I've got to say for now. I'm giving it an 8 for rating, 7.5 replayability, final rating 7.75.
Number 39,
Jackie Chan, Stunt Master. What can I say about this game? What cannot Jackie Chan do right? Initially, I didn't like the looks of this game, but I quickly realized how well made it was. Yes, it's a fighter with a basic storyline, but the attention to detail tells me this was made with love. Just like you. There is a lot of combos that Jackie can do, level design is top notch, and so is the soundtrack. All things combined, you got a killer game in your hands. Jackie Chan Stunt Master gets a powerful 8.5 in rating, 7 for replayability. For final rating we got another 7.75. What the?
Number 38,
Hogs of War. This is another childhood classic that I was worried I was not gonna be able to play it because I didn't remember the name. So I literally typed in Google, military pigs. And that's how I found it. And many others too, if I'm being honest. This game is good news all over the place. And a strategy action game. Pretty simple concept where you have to eliminate the opposing team, in this case red pigs. But you're limited to a certain amount of time. And there is different classes for every little piggy. Hogs of War is truly one of the most fun games I've ever owned. I really want to finish it. So for ranking this time we got an 8.6 for rating, 7 for replayability, final rating being 7.8.
Number 37, Xena, the Warrior Princess.
Another competitor for the ugliest cover for the PS1, but that's not what we're ranking here.
Now, it's because of this cover that I chose this game, expecting it to be really bad. But boy oh boy, I couldn't have not been any more wrong. Here in our hands, we got the biggest surprise of the whole list for me. The combat is very fast-paced and very fun. I don't know, whoever designed this game was on point with every mechanic, because this is a gem right here. The whole pack of it, the scenery, the soundtrack, the level design is all top-notch. Hands down, the biggest shock in the top 100. Xena earns an 8.3 for rating, 7.5 replayability, having a final rating of 7.9. Good job, Xena. Number 36. Monster Rancher 2. Here we are with another sequel, this time 60 games later. Another game I will spend hours playing as a kid, and for a good reason. This is a solid game. Pretty much like the first game, you take care of this monster so he can take care of you financially. The combat is somewhat improved from the first edition, you're not missing all the time, and the stats from every monster are actually relevant when it comes to the battle. Monster Rancher 2 did a lot of things right this time. So for rating, it's getting an 8.4, replayability it's a 7.4, final rating 7.9. Number 35. Rayman 2. Another one of those games that got gifted to me as a kid, so naturally it has a special place in my heart. And on top of that, this is the first game I've ever finished. We follow the story of Rayman, a limbless hero. Yeah, he doesn't have arms or legs, he just has hands and feet. And we help him fight an army of pirate robots that decided to invade his world. The game has a linear story, but counts with numerous scenarios that make the word fun fall short to describe the whole experience. If you haven't, try Rayman. If not, just wait for me, I'll play for you. Rayman is an easy 8.5 for rating, 7.5 replayability, this way being the first 8 in this list. Number 34. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The first of a series of this time games where everyone looks very ugly. With that being said, they were just so fun. You got to explore Hogwarts, or at least what they allowed you to, for the first time. Tell me which one is which, if not you hate gingers. The game is linear, but it doesn't feel like it, and I like that. Puzzles, a little action, and some explorations in given instances. And you also get to go to class. I still don't know why we went so crazy about Hogwarts Legacy. The whole formula was already here 20 years before. Sorcerer's Stone gets an straight 8. There's not much to talk about it, I just want to finish it. Number 33. Siphon Filter 2. This is another sequel. I decided to play this time to figure out if this was the one I owned when I was a kid. Turns out it wasn't. But here we got another good dosage of action, stealth, and fear of heights. This game is slightly improved the already effective formula from the first one, even though the accuracy it still is at Stormtrooper level. The gameplay is challenging at times, so you have to figure out a way to complete your objectives while also taking into account your health and ammunition. Didn't pay a lot of attention to the story, but it's definitely a fun experience. Siphon Filter 2 also gets an 8 on everything. Number 32. Resident Evil. First release for probably my favorite franchise of games. Looking at this and then looking at, I don't know, Resident Evil 4 Remake reminds me that, hey, everyone has to start somewhere. I mean, look at the inventory, there was no space there. Released almost 30 years ago, and the concept is still the same. Mind you, this game I've never got to play because I was very little, and on top of that, I was very scared of it. So this is my first time actually playing it. And I can tell you I am fascinated. This is just my genre. Sure, there's some bad things to say, but hey, it was in 96. The first Resident Evil gets an 8.5 in replayability, 7.5 rating, final rating being 8. Number 31. Spyro the Dragon. Here we find one of the early cult classics of the PS1. I didn't know Spyro was created by Insomniac Games, but I guess that makes sense. This young purple dragon is called Spyro, and we control him in a 3D platformer that takes place in the dragon realm. Our dragon friends have been turned into crystal statues by the evil, nasty Nord. Reason being they were making fun of him, and who wouldn't? Our goal is to beat him while collecting gems and releasing more of our friends. I know I owned several Spyros, but I never finished one, so this time it will be different. Spyro will also form part of the 8s of this list. Spyro gets an 8 in everything. Number 30. Fighting Force 2. Spoiler alert, this is the only sequel in the list that did not beat the original game in the rank. This is a great game, and the title tells you everything you need to know about it. Even though this sequel took a different route from the original game, I'm not complaining. You can still grab any weapon available and fight through the opposition. I think that choosing to transform a game from being lighthearted and enjoyable into one centered around futuristic police makes the game feel dull, especially without introducing any innovations. But that was my little gamer rant. Fighting Force also gets an 8 for rating, 8 replayability, 8 final rating. Number 29. 102 Dalmatians. If I am not mistaken, this is another gift given to me by my neighbor that she wanted me to play it and show her, of course. The game somewhat follows the plot of the movie, which right now I don't remember that much. I'm 25. Very similar to Spyro in concept. Save your friends, collect bones, beat Cruella. I used to think this was an extremely fun game to play back then, and I still hold that thought. It's not nostalgia talking, it's pure fact. 102 Dalmatians gets an 8.3 for rating, 7.9 replayability, final rating being 8.1. Number 28. Toy Story 2. Another Disney movie game that follows the plot of it, expanding the experience for us, the consumers. Even though the game is a 3D platformer, it does feel like an open world. You get to explore the full house, the backyard, and the neighborhood. And of course, since you are the size of a toy, everything feels like the size of a country. There's so many activities to interact with, there's so many things to fight, the game has so much content that makes your camera stand give out. I never got to finish this game as a kid, so of course I have to do something about it. Toy Story 2 gets an 8.5 for rating, 7.7 replayability, final rating being 8.1. Number 27. Spyro. Ripto's Rage. Direct sequel from the first Spyro, continuing this story but keeping it fresh with new mechanics and worlds to visit. One thing that I really enjoy about Spyros are the monsters. They are just so fun to defeat and they're not easy all the time. Slight improvement from the first one, so let's not get too deep with it. Spyro's Ripto's Rage, or Spyro 2, gets a total 8.2. Number 26. Crash Team Racing. This is pretty much the best game you could ask for if you like racer games, on the PS1 at least. Good old silly Crash, but this time on a car. The gameplay will go as any other racer that you could imagine, but I don't know, this one had something that made it special. I remember that one of my neighbors one day got one of these multi-taps, and me, my two brothers, and him will play all day and all night, non-stop. The racetrack design is what I remember the most about this game. The story about it, not so much, but I'm curious, so I want to finish it soon. This is the first of many times that you're gonna see Crash on this list. For rating, we got an 8.3. Replayability is gonna be an 8.1. Final rating being 8.2. Number 25. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. We make it to the half of this video, this time with another sequel. You have to understand that the rankings are so tight at this point. Second part of an already impressive adaptation.
Welcome to my home. It's not much. I think it's brilliant.
You're lying.
This time we jump into the action right away, and since Ron doesn't own keys to his own house, we enter through the window. We already know what happened with the Sorcerer's Stone, we already know what is going to happen with the Chamber of Secrets. This is just a great game overall, and you can tell that from the get-go. I have to hurry up and finish all this video. There's a lot of games I want to finish. Harry Potter 2 for the PS1 gets an 8.2 in rating, replayability, and in final rating as well. Good night. Number 24. The Legend of Dragoon. I've never heard of this title until now, and I don't know why. Maybe no friend of mine owned it, or I skipped it when I was buying games at the store. Legend of Dragoon is a JRPG created by Sony. Very Final Fantasy-like, turn-based combat system, but you can do a little extra damage. We follow the story of Dart, which in the first minutes of the game, his village gets destroyed by a mysterious monster. Apparently the story goes of seeking revenge and learning more about the mysterious beast. The gameplay is entertaining, and the tale is very intriguing. Good stuff. Legend of Dragoon is getting an 8.4 in rating, 8 in replayability, 8.2 final rating. Number 23. Vagrant Story. Definitely one of the games I played the most as a child, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know English at the time, because I know that story-wise the game is kinda dense, but gameplay-wise very good. Vagrant Story is everything that's right RPG-wise. Even though it's a little unconventional, it's just a gem. If I'm being honest, when I decided to start this list, I thought this was gonna be number 1. But hey, this goes to show you, I'm being impartial. My inner child just wants to know what's up with this game. Vagrant Story receives an 8.5 for rating, 8 replayability, final rating 8.25. Number 22. Crash Bandicoot. Nintendo had Mario and Sega had Sonic. Sony had to do something about it. Thanks to that, here we got the first Crash game ever created. Words cannot describe what a massive success off the rip Crash is. But success requires no apologies. We have a mutant Bandicoot that jumps and eats a fruit called Wampa. He just made our life easier 20 years ago. Crash gets an 8.54 for rating, oddly specific, 8 for replayability, final rating being 8.27. Number 21. Spider-Man. First Spider-Man game for the PS1 and also the first 3D Spider-Man game ever. What I like about it the most is not only the fact that you get to be a Spider-Man, but the aspect of it. You feel like you're playing Peter Parker or Spider-Man from the comics. The game has mechanics that you can see in Spider-Man games nowadays, so you could say the game was ahead of its time. Another point in favor to this game is the voice acting. Rino Romano does a great job being Spider-Man, and you also get the input of Stan Lee here and there.
AJ may end up in the obituaries of his own paper.
Spider-Man did a great job for the superheroes in the video game industry. Today, Spider-Man gets an 8.4 in rating, 8.2 in replayability, final rating being 8.3. Number 20. Fighting Force. We are already in the top 20, so you have to understand that the upcoming glazing is justified. I just don't have enough time to say good things about the games. Fighting Force enters into the list of games that I played whenever I went to my cousin's house. And playing this back then was just pure perfection to me. Pretty much all you do is fight waves of enemies that keep coming at you for no reason. Not only fighting with punches and kicks, you can pretty much use anything as a weapon. Now that I'm analyzing, I can see that what I liked so much about it was the camera work. It's very advanced for a PS1 game. Definitely, without a doubt, one of the most fun games I've ever played in my lifetime. Fighting Force gets an 8.6 for rating, 8 for replayability, final rating 8.3. Number 19. Vandal Hearts 2. Vandal Hearts 2. Oh my god, where do I start? Like I said before, my love for RPGs come from this game, specifically this one. We witness the story of our hero, from childhood to a full adult, as he deals with the consequence of being exposed to civil war, political agendas, betrayals, and power struggles. Yes, it's a long game. The concept for the combat system remains, but there are some tweaks. Your moves are now simultaneous with your enemy's moves. That brings a whole new layer of strategy to this RPG. Vandal Hearts, I love you and I cannot wait to play you. I'm giving it an 8.6 for replayability, 8 for rating, final rating 8.3. Number 18. Is Spyro, Year of the Dragon. This is the Spyro I played the least as a kid, so naturally this is the one I chose to play the most this time. There is improvement but nothing too crazy, especially for me since I played the prequels in such a short span of time. I will add that the world feels richer in details and the stages have way more content. And apparently there is some new playable characters. I never made it so far, but we will in the short future. Spyro 3 gets an 8.6 for rating, 8.2 replayability, 8.4 final rating. Number 17. Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. When it comes to Crash sequels, there is a lot more that I can say. Now with a more refined gameplay mechanics and a more varied level design, we embark in Crash journey one more time, in this occasion with the intent to defeat his evil creator, Neo Cortex, who initially we were collecting some gems for before showing his true intentions. Even today, Crash is a fresh experience, and this sequel takes it a couple levels beyond the greatness of the first one. This is the upgrade that we expect from sequels nowadays. Crash Bandicoot 2 gets a solid 8.5 in everything. Number 16. Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear is a great series of games that I never followed through after the first one. So that hype about the franchise that most people have, I don't. But I do understand it. 4-year-old me was perplexed at this game. Obviously right now looks very simple, but still. Masterpiece. I do remember that back then I didn't get the concept of stealth, so younger me was just trying to fight everyone, and that's what I tried to do again one more time. Okay. Hideo Kojima finally got serious, and thanks to that, the genre of stealth got redefined forever. I have many questions about this story, so I hope they'll get answered soon. Metal Gear gets a solid 8.5 in everything.
Number 15. Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is
Resident Evil 2. This is the game that is the main responsible for my nightmares as a child. But now that I'm big and strong, I can appreciate the set of good things that Capcom did with this game. We got to see Leon for the first time, and if you ask me today, that face card is horror. The game is chaotic off the rip, and I think that will overwhelm anyone back in the 98. It is still annoying spending 4 bullets per zombie head, but once you realize that you can just run past everyone, life gets much easier. I don't know why, but for some reason the ambience of this game is scarier to me than the actual Resident Evil 2 remake. I didn't play it for long because I want to fully focus on the game and not only on this list.
Holy, are you gonna die today, brother?
I don't need to tell you that I love Resident Evil, but I do. Resident Evil 2 is a big improvement from the first one, and just like the last 2 games, it gets an 8.5 in everything. Number 14. Parasite Eve. If you combine a Final Fantasy game with a Resident Evil one, this is probably what it will come out. A survival horror RPG with a real-time combat. In all seriousness, this game has everything to keep you hooked. Intriguing storyline, exploring, looting, and a tricky combat system that takes a while to get used to. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Parasite Eve, and after some googling, I was happy to find out that there are 2 sequels to this game. Parasite Eve is gonna form part of the 8.5s of this list. Number 13. Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. Direct sequel from the 2000 game, not heavily acclaimed like the first one, but I did like it a lot more. Level design became more spacious, so at the time of making decisions you have way more freedom on how to confront your enemies. We are still web swinging from the clouds, but there is a couple of new mechanics here and there that make the game feel like an actual sequel. Complicated at times, but the combat is as fun as ever. One of my favorite games as a kid. You're gonna hate hearing this, but Spider-Man 2 also gets an 8.5 in everything. Number 12. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Here at number 12 we got a precious title that I missed in my childhood. Just because when I was a little human, I was scared of the cover.
I'm scared, there's a ghost.
Oh my, but the things that I've been missing. Art-wise reminds me a lot of Contra games, and I really like Contra. I'm thankful that I did this top, because it helped me put my eyes on games that otherwise I wouldn't have. Didn't play much of it, decided I was gonna make time so I could have a good session of Castlevania. Symphony of the Night is gonna get an 8.6 for rating, 8.4 for replayability, final rating 8.5. Number 11. Crash Bandicoot 3, Warp, third and last release of Crash for the PS1, at least for the Bandicoot series, and if you ask me, this is the peak of Crash right here. The story is not special because of course we know what we have to do, we know who we have to stop, but they expanded the gameplay in so many directions, and all of them are right. Naughty Dog found a way to keep you hooked to the formula one more time, so I have nothing else to say but bravo. Crash Bandicoot Warp, 8.7 rating, 8.5 replayability, final rating 8.6. Now entering the top 10 we got MediEvil. Another one of those games that I played at my cousin's house. She doesn't even know how good this was, and she doesn't even know the big favors she did in my vacations. I have to say, I couldn't find this until I type in Google, School Night Game PS1. The game is set in a dark fantasy world where we follow the story of Sir Daniel Fortesque. We engage in combat and puzzle solving scenarios through this heroic skeleton. There is weapons of all kinds. Your own arm can be used as a boomerang.
Let's go Australia!
It has a very interesting storyline, so MediEvil is definitely one of the first games I'm gonna play and do a video about it. I gave MediEvil an 8.7 for rating, 8.5 replayability, final rating being 8.6. Number 9. Metal Slug X. Ported from the arcades, this is the first Metal Slug to make it to the PlayStation. We have all played Metal Slug, but we don't know what's the plot behind it. Probably because there is not much information, and the only thing we understand is extremely entertaining run and gun gameplay. Very detailed pixel art that's attractive to the gamer eye, weapons and vehicles of all kind. And on top of that, there is fun bosses to face at the end of every stage that makes the icing of the cake. All things combined, we got that Metal Slug gets an 8.9 for rating, 8.5 replayability, final rating being 8.7. Number 8. Resident Evil 3. We go back to Raccoon City to fight with zombies one more time, but there's an ugly beast that's constantly on the chase of us. The events from this game happen simultaneously as the Resident Evil 2 ones. Difference is Leon's just arriving as we are getting out. Mechanically improved from the second one and more of an open game environment wise, since we get to explore the streets of Raccoon City. Resident Evil 3 gave us more of an action-paced experience. Another game that I was so scared to play 20 years ago, but I did enjoy watching my family play it. I have played all of the recent Resident Evil ones, but I've never finished one of the original 3, so I'm dying to. Replayability, it's a 9. Rating, it's an 8.5. Final rating, 8.75. Number 7. Silent Hill. We stay in the survival horror genre. On this occasion we go to the mist and snow of Silent Hill. What I like about this game is that action is not always the answer, but is always an option. Not very intuitive when it comes to progress, but that's easily overlooked if you enjoy the exploring aspect of the game. The camera work and ambience sounds will easily put you in tension throughout the game, and that's something that I heavily appreciate from horror in any entertainment form. As ambiguous as it is, I've always been fascinated by the story of these games. There is plenty more good things that I could say about Silent Hill, but we'll talk about that in the future. I gave Silent Hill an 8.5 for rating, 9 for replayability, final rating 8.75. Number 6. Warcraft II, The Dark Saga. Since I was a kid, I've always wanted to play World of Warcraft, and to this day I still haven't. But one day, shopping for PS1 games, I noticed this cover. Little did I know back then that I found a temporary addiction. If you're anything like me, and you like real-time strategy games like Age of Empires, this is a game you're gonna enjoy. You gather materials, you build your base, you create troops, and you get ready to destroy the human race. Pretty simple concept that I've always been a fan of. This was my last contact with the Warcraft series, so I don't know how sequels turned out. I'm giving Warcraft 2 a 9 for rating, 8.6 for playability, overall rating 8.8. Now entering the top 5, MediEvil 2. Just like the first game, Sir Daniel got resurrected once again, so it's time for the skeleton hero to defeat another sorcerer. The concepts stay intact. We fight undead with our funny movements and a large choice of weapons. The progress is more linear in this occasion, but there is more character interaction that help make the experience more alive, or undead if you will. Playing MediEvil is and was an extremely fun experience. The ambience of it just brings me flashbacks of my childhood. Earning the spot number 5, MediEvil 2 gets an straight 9. Number 4, Digimon World 3. There is no way to track this, but I'm pretty positive that this is the game I have the most hours out of the all I played in the list. I've always loved Digimon because of this game. The anime, not so much. In this occasion, we find that the Digimon World is a virtual reality game where you go to have fun and be a Digimon tamer. The world is huge, which is both a good and a bad thing, but the soundtrack and the freedom that you get makes everything feel so right. The combat is the least impressive thing of the title, but still enjoyable if you like turn-based combat, and have patience for grinding experience for your Digimon. There is more things that I could say about Digimon World 3, but I have to wrap it up here. 9.5 for playability, 8.5 rating, final rating 9. Number 3, Tekken 3, one of the greatest fighting games of all times, as early as the 97. 2 years after the second game, Namco gave us such a jump in quality that 28 years later, we still talk about Tekken 3. And they also introduced Warang. The amount of fun that you can get from just spamming the X with Warang is unmeasurable. Not to mention that once you learn the actual combos, you feel like a pro player today and 20 years back. I hate Heihachi with all my heart, so it was decided to give him a beating with Law.
Here I come.
I have to say that every here and there when editing this video, I'll just go play Tekken 3 for funsies. Long live Forest Law and Warren. Tekken gets a straight 9. Number 2, Final Fantasy IX. To this day, I still feel like I'm in love with this game, and I hate that I never got to finish it, but that will change. Every little detail of this game is damn perfect, at least to me. From the combat, to the exploring, to the story, that's the main focus of the game. RPGs combined with a medieval setting, that's my burger and milkshake right there. Final Fantasy IX could easily be the number 1 in this list, and it actually has the same rating as number 1. The tiebreaker was actually personal factors that I will explain when we get to number 1. For now, Final Fantasy IX gets a 9 for rating, 10 for playability, final rating for the game number 2, 9.5. And finally, in the spot number 1, Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. Could be a controversial decision, I know, but it's my top 1. Yu-Gi-Oh! Captures everything you want from a video game adaptation of an anime, including even the possibility of introducing yourself into the universe, feature that in my opinion makes the whole experience more satisfying to the player. Fun fact, this show didn't exist at the time of the release of Forbidden Memories, which explains why the difference in rules when it comes to dueling. The game is extremely fun and RNG based, which can make or break your experience. After every battle, you're gonna get a card as a reward based on the rating of your performance. That way you can build your dream deck. My brothers will play this every night and I will watch them. And to this day I still remember the joy that was getting the Meteor Black Dragon for the first time after months of grinding. Because this is pretty much your only way to beat Haishin or Heishin, however you say that, and finish the game. And like I told you, it has the exact same rating as Final Fantasy, 9 for rating, 10 for replayability, final rating for the top 1, 9.5. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me out and might help some awesome people find the video too. You can follow me in my other socials where you can text me, insult me, whatever you want. With nothing else to say, good morning, good evening, and good night.
Meu barraco pra quebrar cama comigo.